here in Doha and everyone tuning in at the World Innovation Summit for Education. It's the third day of the summit, and so many exciting things have happened. So many great people have spoken to us, and I feel so blessed and so honored to have seen kind of so many education leaders, change makers, CEOs, strong people come by, and we're just going from strength to strength here, because I now have the profound honor to talk to Jessica Posner Odede, who is the CEO of Girl Effect, an organization that uses the power of media to unlock the power of girls. And a very warm welcome to you, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Aldo. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
And you are calling in digitally, so we've had many conversations live, and you're the first one that I interview digital. So,
Great.
yeah, so that's a first for me, kind of in this way. Where are you calling in from today?
I am from calling in from my home in Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, that's great, and we're in the same time zone, so it's around 11 a.m. for you as well. So we
It
didn't ask
is.
you to get up too early to make
No,
this.
it's a great time.
Jessica, it's incredibly inspiring to see the work of Girl Effect catching on in so many different countries in Africa and Asia. And I was impressed by all of the projects you're working on. Most particularly, I really liked Springster, which is a
Oh,
global
great.
mobile brand available to girls in 8 languages, I believe, and 15
Yes.
countries, including South Africa, Ghana, Indonesia, Nigeria, Bangladesh, and Kenya, to help young women cope with the complexities of adolescence. And I mean, it's such a strong proposition, and my hats off to you for doing such great work, helping young women in this very complex phase of their life. Cope with everything that there's to cope with. So thank you so much for doing that. How are things going with Springster?
Things are great. I think part of what we've been able to do, and really what we try to do across our projects and products and reach, is to talk to young women where they are already. And for anyone who has a teenager, might have been a teenager not too long ago, we know that for many young people, that is increasingly online on her phone. We also use TV shows, radio shows, magazines, but really our principle is that we reach young people where they are already.
Mhm.
And for a lot of young women, that has been Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. And so Springster is really our digital brand that talks to young women, gives them the information they need about menstruation, about contraception, about their education, and talks to her in a format and in a forum that is readily accessible.
Mhm. Yeah, one of the things I wondered is, in up to what extent is this a one size fits all, and where is customization needed? Because I can imagine that if you operate in so many countries, you can just plug and play kind of all these things. So could you talk a little bit about how you customize a tool like Springster so that it works for all these girls in all these countries?
Absolutely. I think that, one of our principles is really meeting young women where they are. And part of how we do that is all of our work is driven by insights, by data actually from girls. So,
Mm,
first, we work to understand girls' access to technology, and we work through the platforms they already use, trust, and love. But I would say we take what we call a global approach to programming. Our
mm,
brands are rooted in local insights that reflect girls' real realities and challenges, but we also use and share knowledge across geographies and ecosystems to impact the efficiency of our product. For example, our chatbot, which is called Big Sis,
yeah.
which we launched in South Africa,
Mhm.
fed into a replication of a similar tech-based product in India, which
Yeah.
is called Bulbahead. So across our chatbots, for example, we've received 2.8 million messages with
Wow.
over 150,000 conversations started. So I think for us, it's really about both thinking about scale, but also how does it feel relevant, and
Mhm.
how does it feel really accessible to her.
Mhm. And one of the things I wonder, like the challenges of this global approach, as you say it. Because I mean, it's beautiful that it works, and it's beautiful that tremendous success in the millions of responses. But where does such a journey start? And can you maybe give an example of a challenge that you've encountered on getting it all going? Because it's
Sure.
not an overnight success, I can imagine. There's proper
No,
work.
it's been 15 years of hard work. And
Yeah.
really, I think part of why this approach works is research that we've done about just the stages of adolescence. And
Mhm.
part of what I think really resonates for our work with this approach is that 70% of the challenges adolescent girls encounter, experience around the world are shared. So
Mhm.
whether if that girl is in Detroit, Michigan, or she's in Mumbai, India, or in Nairobi, Kenya, so many of the challenges of the changes and the new experiences the girls face really are shared. So I
Yeah.
think that is one of the insights that we've really looked to drive our work. I think a challenge for us is still, though, digital access and accessibility. We know that there is a gender digital divide, that technology and access to technology is inherently sexist. For
Mhm.
example, boys are 1.5 times more likely to own a phone than a girl.
Oh
So
wow.
for that, what does that mean? It means that we have to think about how do we reach her when we know that adolescent girls are a notoriously hard to reach audience. So for us, it's not just about using the latest technology, but it's about using widely available technology in a smarter way. So, for example, in Tanzania, where girls might not have access to internet bundles, we're really thinking about kind of lo fi examples of innovation. So, in
Mhm.
Tanzania, we've worked through a widely available technology, which is a national interactive voice response line, or an IVR line. So, when you call and it says, press one, press two, press three, that's what IVR is. And
Yeah.
it's typically used for, customer services, but we're really using that to provide girls with on demand audio content. And we've received over 1.5 million calls to date through that platform.
Wow, that's and so. Well, first of all, I'm shocked about the statistic and I had no
Mhm.
idea that there's a sexist component in accessibility towards technology and those tools. And it's really shocking that you have to deal with that. And good on you for having the tools to be able to tackle that, or trying to circumvent that, so you still can provide that specific access. And I can imagine that it's not without its challenges. Also, a little shout out to a current project you're working on, which is Tech Kitchen. um,
Yeah, we
uh,
talked about that a little bit.
yeah, so
Yeah.
tell me about Tech Kitchen. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, so part of what we also have realized, and first of all, there's kind of a few ways that technology, I think, is inherently sexist. One is access, but the second is design.
Mm.
Because young women are not the target demographic for a lot of new tech products, just because of their limited access, there is a lack of products and platforms designed with girls in mind. So for us, that's really where we start. We start with her. We start with thinking about what's the next generation of technology and products that she needs, like Big Sis, which is our chatbot, and which
Mm.
is such a powerful innovation that really talks to girls. Our chatbot talks to girls like they speak. We've received messages to our chatbot that say, from girls that say, I love you so much. I'd rather talk to a robot than a real person because you don't judge me. There's no
Yeah.
judgment in this conversation. So
Yeah.
part of what we're doing with that insight is thinking about how do we create the next generation of products for adolescent girls that are designed with them in mind, for them, by them? We
Yeah.
actually want girls to be at the forefront of
Yeah.
designing the next generation of technology products that speak to them. So we're
Yeah.
innovating with something that we're calling the Tech Kitchen, which is really thinking about young women should be designing the
Yeah.
next generation of these tools and products. And so
Yeah.
something new that we're talking about and thinking about bringing major tech players, philanthropists together to think about how do we put girls in control of designing the next generation of technology that will work with and for them.
100%, and we're here to collaborate and to help you
Mm,
amplify your call. So if you are a foundation, an organization, or even a person who's interested to participate in Tech Kitchen, then check
yeah,
out girleffect.org for more information, because the more the merrier in getting this off the ground, and whatever we can do. Thank
absolutely.
you, Jessica. We're here for that. I want to talk a little bit about yourself, because you're not a stranger
Sure.
to development work and supporting
Sorry about that.
girls all over the world. No worries. There is a phone call. Um, I Yeah. So you started before you got involved with Girl Effect. You started with your husband, Shining Hope for Communities, and it originated in Kibera, in a township in Nairobi, Kenya. Um, there's a very inspiring TED talk that you have given together with your husband that I can highly recommend for everyone to watch.
Thank
Um,
you.
you have a remarkable track record, and my hats off to you for all the work that you've did. Um, um, so for someone who's been in this for so long, I was just wondering, so what would you advise to people who, just like yourself, have a drive to help, and what would be your kind of your advice to them, kind of in starting off their endeavors?
Hmm. It's a really good question. I mean, I think part of what I would say is find out what's already working and what's already happening and led by people closest to the problem. For me with Shofco, my husband was born and raised in Kibera, which is one of the largest slums in Africa,
Mm,
and really had a vision for what his community should look like. And so I really became a kind of supporter and ally of his vision. And I
yeah,
think there's so much pressure in our culture to be the social entrepreneur, to have it be focused on you, where really there's already so many amazing initiatives that exist. So I would say first, learn, find
yeah,
out what's out there, and become part of something that already exists, as opposed to necessarily having to start something yourself.
yeah,
And the next thing I would say is really take an interest. We're so and all guilty of living in our kind of little isolated bubbles. And so, how do you pick your head up and really learn about what the problems are, but also who's solving them? And again, pushing the kind of onus to solve these challenges on those who have intimately experienced them
yeah,
themselves. And so I would really say, read, learn, figure out what's happening, and where support is needed, ask questions, offer yourself in service, but don't assume to have the answer. So
yeah.
that's really what I would recommend.
That's very solid advice. So look for what's already out there. Look for what has
Yeah,
worked and what didn't work, and build on that. Don't start your own
exactly.
kind of
Don't
endeavor.
start from scratch. Why?
Don't start from scratch.
The last thing the world needs is another NGO. And so I think really thinking about how do
Yeah,
you support, how do you amplify, how do you add on to existing efforts that have already gotten traction and a track record.
yeah, yeah. Very good advice. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing that. Um, is there such a thing as kind of a number one lesson learned for you from your work at
Mm,
Shofco? And if so, have you been able to apply that to the work that you do at Girl Effect?
it's a great question. I think for me, above all, my time with Shofko really taught me, reinforced an intuition or an instinct that the people closest to the problem, which we've just spoken about, are also the best place to solve it. My mother in law has a great saying. She always says, he who or she who wears the shoe knows exactly where it pinches. And so
Yeah,
I think thinking about how do you again amplify and support, for me, everything we do at Girl Effect is driven by insights from girls. We listen to girls, we put them in a position of power and control. We listen to their stories and lived experiences, to their feedback, to design solutions that work with and for them, as opposed to assuming that we know what works or what's desired by adolescent girls.
yeah. So yeah, look at basically you're saying talk to the people who've been through it, who've experienced it,
Yeah,
follow their lead, follow their story, and
exactly.
also
Put them in a
also
position.
yeah, and put them in a position to be able to execute as well, to be able to make the change
Exactly.
that you're looking for. Yeah, that's very good. Which one of the we've spoken to many of you, you've spoken to many already, so like Big Sis, Tech Kitchen, and Springster. But is there any Girl Effect project that you're most proud of?
Such a
Mm,
hard question. It's like being
no.
asked, "What's your favorite child?"
Yeah, yeah, I know.
But, I think that,
They're
for
asking.
me, maybe even more so than a specific project, but I what something I'm really proud of is our approach. And part of that approach is really first our kind of digital first approach, which really means we're constantly having a two-way conversation with girls. So we're
Mm,
listening to her needs, we're testing with her, we're updating and changing how our work to make sure we're reaching her. We're platform agnostic at Girl Effect.
mm,
Today, many young people are on WhatsApp, on Instagram, or on TikTok, but tomorrow, who knows what new innovation is going to come forward? And we need to be able to move quickly to
yeah,
be where we can reach girls more effectively. That's what's most important to us. And the second thing that really matters to me is starting with girls, ending with girls, putting girls' insights, experience, perspective front and center, and having young people really play such an active role in designing, inputting, feedbacking to all of our programming. So that's something that I'm really, really proud of, and I think sets us apart at Girl Effect.
yeah. Yeah, could you talk a little bit more about putting the girl front and center of everything? And kind of, could
Yeah,
you, yeah, what I'm looking for is a kind of a difference where organizations that might not do that. So could you give some concrete examples that demonstrate that
sure.
that you've done that?
Sure. So I think one example I would start with is just to say across our sector, the development sector, there have been billions of dollars invested in services for girls. So those could be building health clinics, sponsoring family planning, immunization, building schools for girls. But I think a real challenge is that even when these services exist, girls don't necessarily use them at the rates we'd hope because they often don't see these services as being for them. So, for example, a girl could live 10 minutes from a health clinic, but
Mm,
never walk through the front door simply because she doesn't believe that she's the type of girl who can do that, who can ask
yeah,
those questions. Imagine in school, there's so many girls who sit at the back of the classroom, never raise their hands, don't see themselves as being able to, being in that position. So, for us, really, what we do is we're that bridge between girls and the services and resources that exist around them that they need, but that they might not be actively seeking out, utilizing, maximizing. So, how we do this is we use behavior change science to really talk to that girl, to
mm,
build her tools, her ability to negotiate with her parents, to do homework instead of chores in the evening, to really cultivate her identity, how she sees herself as
mm.
the type of girl who takes control of her life. So that's what I would say about how we really put girls front
And
and center in
yeah,
everything we do.
yeah, and you're also very meticulous in publishing your observations or sharing your observations
Yeah,
with others so they know kind of which progress has been made on that level. I think it's so fascinating indeed that in the mindset of many of these girls, they they don't consider themselves as someone who has a voice, right? And
yeah,
we're all about unmuting the next generation. That's what this entire summit is about unmuting the next generation. And I think it's so strong that Girl Effect has such knowledge. So I can advise everyone who's looking for tips and tricks on how to unmute the next generation to get in contact with
mm,
Girl Effect and look at their projects, because you have so many concrete examples of how to do that, and how to work with girls so they really can take over and really help us in shaping this world for the better. Um,
yeah,
a little bit more on a kind of an urgent note on the website of Girl message that the pandemic might undo a lot of the progress that was booked in the last decades, specifically for girls. And I'm going to give an example: 20 million girls might not return to the classroom, exposing them to greater risk of violence, child marriage, and pregnancy. This is a statistic from the Malala Foundation, which you use on Girl Effect. What, if anything, can all of us do to prevent that from happening?
So I think first we have to understand girls' realities, and COVID has shifted our understanding because we know adolescent girls are a notoriously hard to reach demographic. So we first need to understand what's happening, and that's where these insights and data points are so important. But I
Mm.
think the second thing we need to do is we need to make smarter investments in building an ecosystem that supports girls, not in just the services we talked about, but also in the girl wanting that service. And so for us, I think what we can do is we need to, as a community, look at education in a holistic way. It's not as straightforward as she's in school, she's in a classroom, but what tools does she have to stay in school, to negotiate for herself, to protect herself, to go back to school? So we really look at education as a holistic platform beyond the classroom, and we equip girls with the information, advice, and support they need really just to navigate life.
Mm.
For example, one example I'll give is in Ethiopia, menstrual hygiene management and stigma are two huge contributors to girls dropping out of school. And
Mm.
through Yenya, which is our youth brand in Ethiopia, which has 9.8 million viewers, by the way. It's the
Wow.
first teen drama in Ethiopia. One
Wow.
storyline showed a story of a girl teased for staining her skirt in school and a boy stepping in and offering her his jacket to tie around her waist. And so I think part of what we need to do is we need to confront this moment head on. We can't shy away from taboos, from difficult subjects, from the really deeply entrenched social norms that exist around a girl but that have also been internalized by that girl,
Yeah.
which in this kind of post pandemic moment may really contribute to that girl not being able to go back to school, go back to the classroom. And another thing I'll say is before the pandemic, I was in India meeting with girls outside of Mumbai and girls who consume our brand in India called Chaja. And I asked these young women, what's the biggest challenge you face in your life? It wasn't going to school, it wasn't getting a job. It was one cross-cutting thing, which is what they said is her ability to negotiate for herself. And
Wow.
that comes into play every day with negotiating with your parents to do homework, to go back to school, to get a job instead of getting married, to navigate all of the challenges which have been augmented by the pandemic. So I really think that's what we need to do. We need to invest in girls' capability to negotiate for themselves.
Yeah.
And we really need to see that as a critical intervention, not
Yeah.
just building schools or health clinics,
Yeah.
but there's actually something more fundamental and foundational that will impact her ability to use that health clinic to stand up for herself in school, to stay in school.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, very strong. Give a girl the ability so she can negotiate for
Yeah,
herself, right? And every step of the way.
absolutely.
And I agree with you that
Absolutely.
it's not just about access. It's also kind of the holistic perspective, because just
Yeah.
giving something, and if someone doesn't know how to use it, or doesn't know, if it's not
Yeah.
if there's no support system around the girl to go to school, that's it, that just more adds more complexities and difficulties, and yeah, so strong that girl effect is on that, and is kind of discovering the patterns, and looking at it very thoroughly to resolve it. And once again, look at Tech Kitchen to get involved. So girls are empowered to co-develop technology tools. So it really gives them the ability, to negotiate for themselves. I love that, Jessica. Sorry, I'm just going to steal it here. I hope you don't
No,
mind.
please, Aldo. That's great. We need everyone to come and do this with us.
Um, we're almost at the end of this interview. Sadly, we only have half an hour, but I could talk, for hours longer with you. A little bit
Thank you.
about things that have inspired you. Which reading, and that could be a book, an article, a website, or whatever, has inspired you in the work that you do at Shofco, but also at Girl Effect.
Hmm. Well, I just read a new book that I found really powerful. It's called Drop the Ball, and it's about achieving less by doing more. And I think this just really resonated for me as a working mom. I think we have so much pressure on ourselves to do it all perfectly. And I
Mm,
just read this book and just really found that the kind of provocation, drop the ball. It's not something many of us are usually very comfortable with, but really thinking about how do we prioritize and how do we also release some of the self imposed pressure, I think, especially as high achieving working women, we can
mm.
experience.
Great recommendation. Drop the ball. What's the name of the author?
Tiffany Defoe.
Tiffany Defoe. Okay, Drop the Ball by Tiffany Defoe. And now let's turn the tables. So you're the one interviewing, and you can invite a guest. Um, who would you like to have a conversation with?
I have so many people, but I think I would love to have a conversation with Grasa Michelle. She is an incredible leader, advocate for girls' education equality. She's a co-founder of the Elders with her husband Nelson Mandela. I have had the privilege to know her and have her be a kind of incredible thought partner and champion of my work with Kennedy at Shofco over the last decade. But I
Mhm.
really do think that there is so much wisdom in listening to powerful women like Grasa.
Nice. That's a beautiful example, and I'm sure you could make that happen to do that interview. So by all means, do it. I can only incentivize you to inspire more
All right,
people.
well, only if you'll come listen, Aldo. That's
I
great.
will. I will. I will. First row tickets. But no, no, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it's it's transformational, the work that you do. I will fly the flag for Girl Effect and everything
Thank
that
you.
you do. I wish you all the best. Um, in gearing up a tech kitchen, but also further rolling out Big Sis, Springster, and all the many great projects that Girl Effect is working on. There are many, so do check out the website girleffect.org, and take a look at all these great projects that have been developed to make a girl negotiate for herself. I really love that. Um, Jessica Posner Odede, thank you so much for your time. And
Thank you
thank
so
you for
much.
joining us here at Wise.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Bye bye.
Bye.